The First Men is one of the strangest colony builders I have ever played. It is an early access game with 5 maps in a campaign, and the game thus might feel rather sparse in its content. Of course, there is random map skirmishes and multiplayer, as well as a map editor planned for the near future in the early access. But currently, what is the game? Well, it is a colony builder with a very, very unique playstyle. The way the game works is you assemble a little group of colonists, and this takes place in a very heavily Turkish folklore-inspired universe, meaning most of it seems like utter nonsense to a layman like myself. As you assemble your small village, your little colonists level up traits. These traits are directly based on the tasks that they are doing. So a woodcutter will level up woodcutting, and somebody who's training for combat will level up one of the 3 different combat traits. Somebody who is gathering materials or gathering food will level up gathering or cooking or mining, etc. Every time a level up in a particular trait procs, they get a one-off consumable or item that can be constructed. Somebody who is working in woodworking, for example, may unlock a chair or a table or a hut to sleep in and heal, whilst as somebody working in farming will unlock different plots that grow specific vegetables that can be cooked into specific one-off consumables. This all stacks up into a very satisfying gameplay loop, building out your different colonists. As they age, eventually they get to a point of adulthood where they will be given other traits. Each colonist has their own personal development skill tree, which can be customized. And these traits that they unlock through their personal development tree start earning different currency, which are more or less hidden from the player. These different currencies are color-coded: red, white, blue, green, and these all build up that individual character's personality and their own stats, thus affecting what they are good at. When you assign a colonist to a specific building, let's use woodcutting as an example, you want to let them level up at least once so that you get that one consumable. Essentially, allowing somebody to go work at something for a bit and then taking them off of that task before they level up is a waste, because then you're missing out on the one-off consumables. Or alternatively, permanent benefits to your civilization. Cooking, for example. If they complete a level of cooking before you move them on to the next task, then they will get a couple of meals, which can then be fed to your different colonists via the consumables menu. While this might all sound like a lot, it actually becomes a very nice flow of gameplay, especially on the bigger settlements. When you have several dozen little dudes running around and people are being born at the nursery and you're constantly divvying up new tasks and shimmying people around as tasks are needed, and constantly building the one-off consumables, it becomes a very satisfying gameplay loop. Once again, the game then changes entirely when in combat. 3 different classes all have their own gear, which can be made at their own separate workshops. As well as when you're going around in the actual combat kind of mode of the game almost suddenly gains a might and magic kind of feel, where enemies will drop gear with color-coded rarity, which you can then equip to your soldiers. They then will gain proficiency in these weapons and slowly get better over time. The more defensive classes, as Protector and the Healer class, that I'm blanking on the name of, do have spells that can be cast and also can carry around things like medical kits and bandages that can be used to heal your other soldiers. The 5 different maps all present different challenges. Arachnia is the tutorial map that asks you to build in a kind of confined space with a pretty linear storyline. However, it gives you a really good guide of how to get through one of the levels. Arcadia is a much more open map, which is almost like a building sandbox specifically teaching you the city building side of the game. It's a very long map that takes hours to finish. However, it gives you a very good example of what to expect from the city building and how to go about building an efficient town. Urgencon is a map with a very specific curated story and a linear quest line. This map forces the player into building towards specific goals to then learn about the different things going on in the world. Again, very, very large, and it gives you a large amount of time to explore and learn about the surroundings of the game. Finally, the game also has maps that are more akin to challenge maps. Lindaris is a defense map with constant attacking foes. This map, as you're seeing on the screen right now, will send in almost wave-like enemies that you get to defend against. This can be quite the challenge, especially for the unprepared like myself. And then finally, Memoria is a huge map with multiple quests that you can go down, as well as huge foes and multiple factions that will attack and or work alongside of you. This also leads to a very different type of gameplay, making the game quite replayable. Between the different maps and their different playstyles, alongside of the large scale of the two later maps, Lindaris and Memoria, the game has a lot to sink your teeth into as a campaign right now. Coming in the game's early access roadmap is also a map editor and mod support, as well as random and skirmish maps for you to sink your teeth into. They're also planning full-fledged multiplayer, and I can't wait to see how that plays. Right now, I think that The First Men is a rather daunting experience that I've only scratched the surface of. I've played quite a bit of time in this game now, about 15 hours, and I feel like I still have so much to learn. But the depth and variety of builds that the trait system allows for keeps me wanting more. As an example, when characters get old, they get one-off consumables, once again, which allow you to give new traits based on the traits of the previous elder to a child once they hit adulthood. And this gives you a very generational feeling, almost like Crusader Kings to your colony. This unique trait system allows for a huge variety and a very personal feeling and of attachment to your colonists. Something that really leaves me with excitement for what's going to happen with the next generation of my little colonists. The story-focused maps are very interesting and fun to explore. The writing in the game is secondary to the gameplay. I very much enjoy the narratives that I've built in my head, whereas the writing in the game, at least for myself, leaves something to be desired. The art is beautiful, the animation is strange, somewhere between a Tim Burton film and something along the lines of Don't Starve, and its own weird hand-drawn artistry. The atmosphere of the game is kind of phenomenal. In fact, I'm going to turn up the background audio and just let you listen to the general ambience of the world for a few seconds. All in all, I think that The First Men is a misunderstood, underrated gem that is hidden away in the depths of the Steam store. I think this is something that really should be getting more attention than it is. If you're looking at the reviews right now and going, they seem a little tough on the game, it's got mixed reviews. Well, largely the reason for that was the original launch version of this game had a completely different user experience built in, which is incredibly different to the current product available for sale. The entire UI has been rebuilt, alongside of large portions of the game's progression system and balance. Of course, the unique traits still exist, however, they're explained way better, and the more confusing elements are obfuscated so that it doesn't impact gameplay like it did in the initial launch version. As an early access title, The First Men is a strange game, but it's a mighty compelling one, and fuck me if it ain't fun. The price is a little bit steep for some, but on Steam sales, it tends to be about 20% off. If you're interested in this one, I recommend chucking it on your wish list and keeping an eye out for when the skirmish and random maps drop. And if you're interested in this game, I would say there's more than enough for the game to be worth your time and money in its current state. As far as bugs go, I've run into an issue where pathing can get stuck, especially with the fishing characters. However, I don't think that this is enough to ruin my gameplay experience. Simply unassigning and reassigning the job tends to fix the issue. Considering the game tells you quite loudly when somebody is idle, this seems to be a very sortable and fixable concern. I will be playing more of the First Men as it develops, and I'm looking forward to its future, especially with that interesting roadmap and mod support and skirmish maps on the horizon. Thank you very much for watching this video on a very strange game that I've just wanted to cover in a larger capacity. If you would like to see quite a bit of gameplay of me playing the game, there's a few VODs on my Extras channel, and there's a link to those in the description. Shoutouts to all my patrons over on Patreon and the members who keep this channel running at a sustainable capacity. And I have to say, huge shoutouts to everybody who does so. Lastly, if you would like to support this channel directly, the best way to do that is by tuning into one of my Twitch streams or by purchasing a mug over on my merch store. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.